All right, 10. So let's see if we can solve this system. So the first thing we want to do is we want to isolate one of the variables, right? Isolate one of the variables in either equation. So my variables are x and y. So what I'm trying to do is get x on one side, right? I want to get x isolated on one side of the equal sign. I want to get it all by itself. Or I want to get y isolated on one side of the equal sign, so it's all by itself. So when I look at these two equations, I notice that one is going to be a lot easier to do the isolation with, okay? And it's because here, there's x has 2y being added to it, but in essence, right, x is already almost by itself. All we have to do is get rid of this 2y. Whereas if I look up here, there's x isn't really very much by itself. I have to get rid of the 3y, but I also have to get rid of the 2. So this equation would be the better one to pick, and the variable that I would isolate for is x. So for step number 1, I'm going to pick the second equation. I'm going to pick the second equation. So I'm going to do x plus 2y equals 6. And now I'm going to isolate for x. So to isolate for x, I want to get rid of this 2y. So that means that to get rid of 2y, mathematically, I just subtract 2y. So 2y minus 2y is no y's. And remember, whatever I get rid of on one side, I need to get rid of on the other side in order to maintain this equality. Okay, because I still want them to be equal. They don't have to be this like identical to this, they just have to be equal. So now 2y minus 2y means that my y's are gone. So I'm just left with an x is equal to 6 minus 2y. So now I know that x and 6 minus 2y are the same thing, right? If x is 5, then whatever y is, if I plugged it into this equation, I'd have to get 5 as well. So I've finished step 1. I've isolated one of the variables. So now I need to substitute that variable into the other equation, okay? So I need to substitute this 6 minus 2y into the other equation for x. So instead of writing x, I'm going to write 6 minus 2y. So let's do the second step. So the first thing I want to do is write down the other equation. So the other equation is 2x plus 3y equals 8. Now, what I know is that I can substitute this value, 6 minus 2y, in here for x. So I'm going to do 2 times, and now I'm going to do 6 minus 2y. Plus 3y equals 8. All right, so all I've done, right, I know that x and 6 minus 2y are the same. So here I had x, so I've just replaced it with 6 minus 2y. So now I'm finished step 2. And now I have an equation, right, that only has y's in it. So now I can solve it. So now I'm moving on to step 3. Dudley pen. Step 3. So to solve it, first I have to I have to follow BEDMAS rules, so I have to distribute this 2 into the bracket. So I'm going to do 2 times 6 is 12, and 2 times negative 2y is negative 4y. And then I have still got the plus 3y, and I still have the 8. So now I can simplify this expression. So I see that I have negative 4y and 3y, so I can actually add those up. Okay, so I'm going to get 12, and when I add negative 4y and 3y, I get negative 1y, and that equals 8. Okay, and so now when I look at this, I know I want to have to figure out what y is, so that means I have to get rid of this 12. And so to get rid of 12, well, if I subtract 12, 12 minus 12 is nothing. So I'm going to subtract 12 from both sides. So I'm going to do 12 minus 12 minus 1y equals 8 minus 12. So I'm left with negative 1y is equal to negative 4. Okay, so now I'm just going to move up here, and I'm just going to rewrite it so that I don't lose track of what I was doing. So negative 1y is equal to negative 4. I want to know what y is, not what negative y is. So that means I want to divide this by negative 1, because negative 1 divided by negative 1 is just 1. And that's what I want. And remember, to keep that equality, what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. So now I end up with y equals 4. So I'm halfway there. So now I'm going to go here, and it says use the answer in 3 to substitute into the equation found in 1 to determine the other variable. So all that's saying is use this answer, y equals 4, go back here, and where you see y, replace it with 4. So I have, I'm going to rewrite this equation, x equals 6 minus 2y. So x is equal to 6 minus 2 times 4, right? So I've just put the 4 and y, they're the same thing. So I've replaced y with 4. And so then I have 6 minus 8. I'm just going to write my x's. So then x equals negative 2. So now I've solved the system. I know that x is negative 2 and y is 4. So therefore, x equals negative 2 and y equals 4. All right, so just to recap, if the variable isn't already isolated, then you have to pick an equation and isolate the variable. It's always best to pick an equation where the variable is already just one of them. So since there's only one x, this is the best one to choose. If this also had one x, then it wouldn't matter. You could pick either one, but you're looking for where there's just a one of the variables, so a 1x or a 1y. So we picked equation number 2. So then we isolated x by subtracting 2y from both sides, and we got x equals 6 minus 2y. So we'd finished isolating. So next step is to substitute. So what we want to do is we want to take the equation that we didn't use, so the 2x plus 3y equals 8, which is this one. And everywhere we see x, we're going to replace it with 6 minus 2y, because we know that x and 6 minus 2y are the same thing. So I replaced x with 6 minus 2y, and now I can simplify and solve. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just distribute the 2 into the bracket. So I do 2 times 6 is 12, and 2 times negative 2y is negative 4y. And then the 3y and the 8 stay. And so now I can simplify again by adding my like terms. So negative 4y and 3y is negative 1y. So I have 12 minus 1y equals 8. And then, because I'm trying to get y, right, I'm trying to find out what y is, I need to get rid of this 12. And to get rid of it, I subtract it. 12 minus 12 is nothing. And then again, remember, you need to do it to the other side. So 8 minus 12 is negative 4. And so my last step is to get y by itself. So you always divide by whatever is already in front of y. So negative 1 divided by negative 1 would give me 1y, and negative 4 divided by negative 1 is 4. So I'm almost there. Now I need to go back to step 4 and use what I got in step 3 and substitute it back in to find the other value of the variable. So I went back to this original step 1. I grabbed the equation, x equals 6 minus 2y. And now I know that y is 4. So wherever y is, I'm going to substitute 4. And now I just do the math. So negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. And 6 minus 8 is negative 2. And then I have my answer, x equals negative 2 and y equals 4. All right, 10s, I hope that helps.